I will teach you a very strange chess strategy that you can use to win more games. And that strategy is that we will not be attacking our opponent. And I know that sounds like very strange. It sounds like it should be wrong, but this actually works and this will help you to win so many games. So you can play this strategy with white and with black, and it also doesn't really matter what opening you play. What I think is important for the opening is that we just try to develop pieces, put a pawn in the center and castle. So I will just be playing the most basic opening here to demonstrate this. So as soon as we have castled and we are in the middle game, we can start using this strategy. I played pawn to d3 here just simply because that was under attack and I didn't want to lose a pawn. Okay, so what are we going to do if we are not going to attack our opponent? What we are doing is we are basically waiting for our opponent to make a mistake. So what we do is every time they make a move, first we want to see, is it doing something we need to deal with immediately? They just castled, so no. And then we try to treat every position as a puzzle. And we do that by doing a CCT check. So what that means is we look at every simple check, every capture, and every threat. And if we go through the checks, the captures, and the threats, and we don't find anything, then this is not a puzzle. There is nothing here. So the check blunders a bishop. The capture leads to a fork, but also blunders a bishop. And a threat is a simple way to win material that we can set up, which I honestly don't see here. So we have no checks, no captures, and no threats. That means that my opponent didn't blunder, and this was not actually a puzzle. Okay, so we just continue. We want to play any simple move that just slightly improves the position. So I always do CCT and then O for optimizing. And what I'm looking at is how can I use my pieces on the back rank to get them into the game, or could I use my ED or C pawns, because those are very important. I like in this position to play the move pawn to C3, because this also helps in controlling some of those squares in the center. And they play pawn to D5, and this is an example of a move that we need to deal with, because they are attacking us, and I will just deal with this by capturing that pawn. Oh, okay, and they don't capture back, they actually play knight to A5. So again, I'm always treating this as a puzzle. First of all, do we have troubles? No, that's protected. Do we have checks? No. Captures? Yes, we could actually capture on E5. Do we have threats? Well, yes, we also have pawn to B4 as a threat, which forks the pieces. All we need to do is calculate which one is better. Well, I think this is a trade, and we just have an extra pawn. So yeah, that's good. This is also interesting. Probably they take here, and then I think we can take there, or we can take there, and we also have an extra pawn. So I think both of those work. I will just play this, because I think that is the most simple move that we could play. That was pretty much just winning a pawn. They just played rook here, so we need to always look at their move. Is it doing something? Yes, it's attacking us, so I need to move this knight, or protect this knight, because this knight is currently under attack. I could play the move d4, which protects my knight and attacks the bishop, but I cannot forget that my own bishop is also hanging. So I think I will just play the most boring move, and that's usually the best move, the most boring move. We will just go back with the knight, take, and we now have a position where we are simply just up a pawn. No, actually, I think we are up 2 pawns. Yeah, he blundered 2 pawns. So we just have 2 extra pawns. Okay. As soon as we are up 2 pawns, or if we are up a piece, we want to switch the strategy. We now want to focus on trading everything. We are still not attacking the opponent. We are just trying to trade everything. Because the moment that you have 2 extra pawns, or you have an extra piece, that is enough material advantage that we should be able to turn that into a win. So I am just simply looking for trades. I am also still doing the CCTO, so checks, captures, threats, to treat it as a puzzle. But we have no checks, no captures, and no threats here. And I'm still also just optimizing, getting pieces into the game. Still, we are doing the same, but also we give a higher priority to trading, because trading is always going to help turn it into a simple endgame. So they play bishop f5. It's not really threatening anything. So no checks, no captures. This is a threat. It threatens to win a bishop in one move, and also it threatens to trade to trade. They play queen there. Okay, and I think we actually have an interesting move here. We could take the bishop, but I could also play rook e1. And if I play rook e1, he is forced to move the queen, and that means that I think we will be having more trades. I will be able to trade the bishop, and I will be able to trade the rook. And that is exactly what we want with this strategy. We want to follow the CCT, treat the positions as a puzzle, or opponents will blunder. I promise you, so many of your opponents play mistakes and blunders in every game they play. So they will blunder, they will give you free material, just like my opponent gave me free material. And now I'm just trading, and slowly getting into an endgame. The best thing we could do is trade queens. Please take my queen. Oh, or you can also let me take your queen. That's just amazing. Because if the queen is gone, I mean the counterplay is gone. Which move should we play? I hope that you see it. Of course, rook to e1. We need to trade these rooks. Yes, we can trade the rooks. I'm extremely happy. We can trade the rooks. Okay. We just need to make sure that we don't end up in an ugly spot with the knight. So I'm going to move knight to d2 and protect. And this is perfect. This is literally the perfect example. My opponent blundered. I won 2 pawns. I traded everything. Very boring. We never attacked. We never went for checkmate. Nothing spectacular. And I will just destroy my opponent in this endgame. Why? Because we have the extra material. And that is just the entire strategy here. Of course, when you play this, you do need to know one thing. You do need to know how do you win endgames. How do you win an endgame when you are up material? Well, that's actually not extremely difficult. When you are up material in an endgame, first of all, we want to keep trading. I mean, trading these pieces would be good. Because if we can get it to king and pawns with 2 extra pawns, it's extremely easy. With 1 extra pawn should also be winning, except for some exceptions to the rule. What we also want to do in an endgame is we want to create a passed pawn. That's a pawn that can promote. And we also want to activate our king. We want to bring our king to the center. And I'm not really bringing my king to the center. I just wanted to bring my king close enough that I can chase his bishop away. That was my first attempt. So we also need to create a passed pawn. That's a pawn that can promote. How do we do that? Well, we have a 3 versus 3 on this side of the board. We won't be creating a passed pawn there. We have a 5 versus 3 on this side of the board. We can create a passed pawn here for sure. So all we need to do is to create a passed pawn is we need to coordinate our pawns and we need to go for a push. And like whatever happens here, we will be creating a passed pawn. We can trade. Trading is good for us. And now we have, okay, now we have 3 pawns versus 1. 100% yes, we can create a passed pawn from that. We have the 3 pawns versus 1. All I need to do is I need to involve my king and I need to keep pushing pawns. So in general, I actually usually don't push that many pawns, but once you are in the endgame, pushing pawns is like the biggest priority because we need to keep making progress. I think b6, c6, knight c4, it really doesn't matter much. I think all of these work because they all create a passed pawn. I'm going to trade here. And now we actually have this. We have 2 passed pawns. We have connected passed pawns. So this is even better. Let's say in the middle game, I was only able to win 1 single pawn. Okay, then I would have to really grind it out and play it perfectly. But here we have 2 extra pawns. So that should be good. What are we going to do? I think we are still trying to push. I wanted to get my king there to a dark square. That's what I wanted. Because if I can get my king there, I can coordinate with my pawns. And I can push and I can create a passed pawn. I don't really care if my opponent tries to win pawns there. It's going to be too slow anyways. All we need to do is we need to keep advancing these pawns. And we want to create a passed pawn. What do we do here? Let's quickly do some calculation. I think we could do this. Then get the king there and then play that. Yeah, probably that's actually a decent move. We are going to do this. Get the king there. And then promote. And this always happens if you have a smart opponent. At some point they will sacrifice some material to try to stop our plan. And now we just have another endgame and we now have a extra knight. So this should still be winning. You should 100% every single time, even if you are playing against Magnus Carlsen, you should be able to win this position every single time. What do we do? Very simple. Anything. Literally anything. We can do anything. All I need to do is advance my pawns a little bit so I can get closer. If I can do a trade in between, that's perfectly fine. And our opponent is eventually going to run out of moves. The only important thing here is that I make sure that I don't blunder my final pawn. Because if I blunder the final pawn, I will not be able to deliver a checkmate to my opponent with only a knight. So we don't want that. So that's why I'm actually racing back here with my king, just so I can use these two together to win this endgame. And this position that I have here, if the knight was not there, wouldn't be possible to win that. But since we have the knight, we are simply always winning. We are just going to do the same as always. We want to create a queen. Can I push that? Yes, I can. Because my knight could protect it. Okay, and we are using the king and pawn together. Okay, I want to create a queen. And they are just going to move away, and then we can make a queen. And if my opponent really wanted to and like make it complicated and step in front of the pawn, I could also just involve my knight and force him out of there with a check. And then I hope that at least here, when you have an extra queen, you are able to do a checkmate. Checkmate with an extra queen is very simple. With a queen and a knight, it's even more simple. So you should really be able to do that. So please try out this strategy. Remember, don't attack, just keep it simple and follow the CCTO framework.